This week's show, we'll talk about the Daytona 500, Rally America and their second race, Mattias Ekstrom, the DTM driver that recently got hurt, and ALMS and the ESPN 3 deal. Is it really good for fans? Welcome to the Insider Report. Welcome everyone to another episode of the Insiders Report. I'm Errol Tucker. I'm here with my co-hosts Peter Keene, Bill Wood, and our driver analyst this week is Andrew Charbonneau. He is the 2010 Spec Miata champion in SCCA. How you doing, gentlemen?
Wonderful.
Excellent.
Good.
Doing excellent.
Good. Well, obviously, this weekend was the NASCAR Super Bowl. We had the 500, and it was to say it was an interesting race. I don't even know if that would do it justice. It was definitely very eventful. Right away, I'm going to throw this over to what I consider our NASCAR expert here, Peter Keene. Peter, kind of give us a breakdown of what you thought about this weekend's race.
Well, I think they put on three really good races. Ultimately, the finale was the 500, which is their Super Bowl. It's kind of funny to start their season with the Super Bowl, and a great young kid, on a part-time ride with good NASCAR 50-year legends of the Wood brothers, comes across the finish line first. That's one thing I guess you can say about that race is you never really know what's going to happen. I know I got my ass kicked in the pool because a lot of guys blew up. Harvick blew up. The Hendrick cars had trouble, and and there was a crash, and so I mean it kind of was different characters. I was cracking up. Bobby Labonte drove for us. Here it was, Trevor Bayne and Bobby Labonte, that's about 50, and a young kid coming to the stripe at the end. And I think Bobby ended up fourth, but still, I mean, it was great runs for guys that weren't in the top-notch equipment, I guess.
Well, let me ask you. I mean, the pavement obviously had a lot to do with what went on. You had a record number of cautions, I believe. You had 2x2 racing. It was definitely a different style than what we're used to at Daytona. Is obviously the pavement played a tremendous part in this week's race. What would you say, Andrew?
Yeah, I would agree. I totally, being at Daytona and the humps are taken out of the equation. I race Spec Racer Ford, and we have a very similar type of racing style where we're 2x2, and three don't work well together, and two actually do work well together. But the problem is as you can see, as the second driver can't see in front of him, many of the crashes were caused by the second driver keeping the push going because he's keeping his foot in it.
Gotcha.
So
yeah.
What's happening is that the communication and the lack of teams, as you will say, which I disagree, and I'm not real happy with the whole process, because now you've got a lot of alliances being put together, and now it's a team sport. It almost seems a little bit like Formula One's coming together on this type of format where everybody's helping each other
right.
out, and then the new
so,
that doesn't quite work for me in that situation.
So you bring up some interesting points there. Definitely it's becoming more of a team sport. Let me ask you, Bill, with that being said, if you're not part of the in crowd, I guess, do you really have a chance of doing well at this type of racing?
I don't know that necessarily it's the in crowd. I think it was a problem, for example, for Stephen Wallace, a rookie who nobody had confidence in, so he was having a hard time getting people to draft with him. The guy that won it, Trevor Bayne, didn't have any problem because he showed the ability to work well with people, to play well with others, so to speak. I agree with just about everything everyone said, but I think the racing wasn't very good at all. When you have 17 or 16 or 17, 18 yellow flags, cautions, most of those caused by wrecks, that's not great racing. That's just guys going crazy out there on the racetrack.
So what's the solution? Slow the cars down? I think they tried to do that, didn't they, Peter? Didn't they do something in reference to trying to stop the cars from going faster this year?
Well, they did. I mean, they made a plate change and changed the radiator caps. But I mean, here the guy. What happened was is the guys learned, you know, during practice that they could get around the radiator, you know, the pressure relief valve again. So I mean, what was weird is it was 2 by 2, but then at the end they kind of lined up. It was kind of the traditional race at the end, you know. And I mean, I don't know how you stop guys from pushing, you know, pushing too much. That's always been the troubles. That's always been, you know, there's two things that causes the big ones. Either somebody keeps pushing in the corner and shouldn't be, or you know, they try and chop down or block and get run over. So I mean, I agree there was a ton of cautions, but
I have to think that when it comes down to Daytona and some of these you know, super speed races, that's what some of the people are looking for. They're like, oh, the big one hasn't happened yet. When is the big one coming? And I think the fact that they're looking for these big catastrophic crashes, you know, is somewhat of a problem, or maybe it's just more entertainment for NASCAR.
Well, no, I got to tell you, you know, Peter, you brought up a good point. The restrictor plate, nobody really cares whether you slow them down or speed them up. They actually, you know, they did some laps at 200 plus miles an hour, and it was over the threshold of what NASCAR wants. And the biggest point is that it's still racing, no matter where you're 200, 190, or even 40 miles an hour, still racing whatever you're going to do with it. But the thing about it is, when you create these alliances, let's make fun of the scenario where you got a guy in his car with 8 different radios, different number cars that he can key into. Now, explain to me, when you're racing with your competitor, you got his radio channel to help you go better. Explain that one to me.
Well, that's pretty straightforward. That's the whole problem with the racing. The races are too long. And you jump off to the beginning of the thing, and you're just looking for some way to get to the end. And if you could get to the end, that's when the real racing happens. And you know,
Gotcha.
it's. Go on to the next question.
All right, gentlemen, we're gonna have to cut this one here. We have to go to a break, and when we come back, we may even bring this up again, or we're just gonna go right into our next topic for the evening. We'll be right back.